German Southwest Africa, empire building in Namibia, 1884-1915. In the late 19th century, the European scramble for Africa intensified as imperial powers carved up the continent in pursuit of resources, prestige, and territory. Among the new colonial players was Germany, a recently unified nation eager to join the ranks of Britain, France, and Portugal in global empire building. One of Germany's first and most controversial colonial ventures was in what is now Namibia, a vast, arid land along Africa's southwest coast. Between 1884 and 1915, Germany transformed Namibia into German Southwest Africa, establishing settlements, exploiting resources, and enforcing authority through military might. The colonial legacy of this era would later culminate in one of history's earliest genocides and leave a lasting imprint on the country's political, cultural, and racial dynamics. Annexation and early settlement, 1884. Germany officially claimed the territory in 1884 after merchant Adolf Luderitz acquired coastal land from local Nama chiefs and persuaded the German government to declare a protectorate. This claim was recognized at the Berlin Conference, 1884-1885, where European powers divided Africa into spheres of influence, often with little regard for local populations. Initially focused on coastal trading posts, Germany soon began expanding inland, establishing administrative centers like Windhoek and encouraging German settlers to develop farms and towns. This expansion brought increasing tension with indigenous communities, particularly the Herero, Nama, and Damara peoples. Colonial administration and infrastructure. German Southwest Africa was unique among German colonies for its relatively high number of settlers and its ambition to become a settler colony like British Rhodesia or South Africa. The German government invested in railroads connecting coastal ports like Swakopmund to interior areas, military forts and administrative centers to secure territory, land expropriation and fencing for white settlers, displacing indigenous communities. Though the colony was seen in Berlin as a model for expansion, it was marked by violent conflict, systemic exploitation, and racial segregation from its earliest years. Tensions with indigenous peoples. The imposition of taxes, seizure of land, and forced labor policies rapidly soured relations between German authorities and native groups. The Herero and Nama, both pastoralist societies, were particularly affected as they lost access to grazing land and water sources. By the late 1890s, several localized revolts had broken out, but these would soon escalate into full-scale war. Prelude to genocide. The harsh treatment of native populations set the stage for the Herero and Nama uprisings, 1904-1908, and the subsequent genocidal response by German forces under General Lothar von Trotha. Thousands were killed or died in concentration camps, forced marches, and massacres. While this genocide is often discussed as a separate historical event, it was deeply rooted in the colonial policies and attitudes of the earlier period. Decline and end of German rule, 1915. With the outbreak of World War I, German colonial rule in Southwest Africa quickly collapsed. South African troops fighting for the British Empire invaded the territory in 1915. After a brief campaign, German forces surrendered and the colony came under South African control. Under the Treaty of Versailles, 1919, Germany officially lost all its colonies. German Southwest Africa was placed under a League of Nations mandate, administered by South Africa, a status that lasted until Namibia's eventual independence in 1990. Legacy. The legacy of German colonization in Namibia is still visible and debated. German architecture and place names remain in cities like Luderitz and Swakopmund Herero, and Nama communities continue to seek recognition and reparations for the genocide land distribution, and racial inequalities remain shaped by colonial patterns. In 2021, Germany officially acknowledged the genocide and pledged financial support, though critics argue more needs to be done. Conclusion: German colonization of Namibia was brief but brutal. In just 3 decades, Germany transformed a diverse indigenous region into a settler colony ruled with military precision and racial hierarchy. What began as an imperial project for prestige ended in genocide and loss, marking German Southwest Africa as one of the darkest chapters of European imperialism in Africa.